So in part two now, I want to give my impression of Capcom versus SNK Millennium Fight 2000. So again, I did talk about this before. The deal: one at least arcade fighting game. SNK has SNK versus Capcom SVC Chaos. Now, with Capcom side, it's Capcom versus SNK Millennium Fight 2000. So there was a rumor about a crossover, and then later on they revealed there it is. And on paper, it sounds good. However, in the long run, even so, the quality is there in the Capcom side. I'm sorry, I mean that's not gonna go away. And they did improve it with the sequel, which I'm probably gonna give my also impression with that one. It is kind of the same, but it's more topic to the same game. But they did make some a lot of improvement, but that'll be a little bit later. Even so, there were a little bit of question about this game. So, Capcom versus SNK Millennium Fight 2000. It's a Capcom version, and it pits Capcom versus SNK. So this is sort of a cut and paste type of game. However, the stages are new. The SNK characters model, beautiful for what it is, and they're running on the Naomi part. So sort of a big deal because the Dreamcast version of this game, which that's my episode 220, was the Dreamcast version, not the PlayStation 1 version, which I'm surprised that works also, is that, yeah, they're almost identical. That's the thing. So, I mean, it's a Dreamcast arcade version, the Naomi. So, I don't know if they still do Naomi, but of course, Dreamcast, well, they faded, so what can you do? But for what the console, for what it is actually good. So, I mean, heck, the first game, believe it or not, actually had a lot of unlockable content with a lot of integration with the VMU, which is their memory card. It's a little pocket game thing, but it's gimmicky, but it looks interesting. Plus, it's also integrated with the Neo Geo Pocket with SNK versus Capcom match of the Millennium. A lot of time it helps you do things why it benefits. One, with the Neo Geo Pocket game, you unlock two characters from the arcade version or the Dreamcast version to the Neo Geo Pocket version, while what you get from the Neo Geo Pocket to the Dreamcast is that you get points. Yeah, so this game have a lot of unlockable. The first version actually has unlockable, but the sad part is not only you have to unlock it by beating the game, but you have to have some sort of points. And sometimes just playing the game, you don't get a lot of points, so replay value may be there good, but in the long run, well, it's hard to say because sooner or later you might get bored. So before I give my impression of the game, I do want to do one clarification, and I did already mention it before, and that is in the West for the Dreamcast, Capcom vs SNK Millennium Fight 2000 was actually released, and that Pro, which is an upgraded version, they added two new characters, Dan and Joe, was not. However, the PlayStation 1 version did come out, the Pro version. Again, for what it is, yes, it is kind of interesting, and I did give my opinion about that one. The gist of it is, for what it is for that game, it's actually good. It runs for PlayStation 1. I mean, not have the part of the Dreamcast, but it can actually emulate what the Naomi can do. So for that one, before I give my impression for the Dreamcast version, again, sadly, it's going to be unofficial due to the fact that I did not play this officially. Now, with that, now I'm going to give my sort of unofficial impression of the game itself. So, first of all, for Capcom vs SNK, let's start with the graphics. Cut and paste. So most characters on the Capcom side are from a CP2 engine, mostly the Alpha series. For some of them, Ryu, Ken, Dan, Akuma, and M. Bison actually have a new sprite. I don't know why, but kind of mostly resembles Street Fighter 2. That's probably why. I mean, I don't mind. I like it. It's better than the Alpha version, so that's probably it. So, and then in the SNK side, yes, all those characters they have there are whatever engine. Maybe they're emulating CP2 or CPS3. I don't know which one, but mostly close to CPS2 in my opinion. But I'm not an expert, you know. I'm not a uber Capcom fan. I do love this game. So background-wise, again, just what it is, but it looks actually much better than the SNK side. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. I mean, so with that, background-wise, it is just your supermarket, arcade, train station, temple, except I mean, except for Geese and Bison, which are the final boss. Of course, Bison's on his Shadowloo headquarters, Geese on his high tower condo, you know, like in Fatal Fury. So there you go. So graphic wise, astonishing. Again, if you want to compare that to SNK vs Capcom, yeah, there's no contest. It's apple and oranges. Sorry, it is what it is. Like, I don't know what to say there. So when it comes to the mechanic, it plays like Street Fighter with 4 buttons. So again, I did mention this before in SNK vs Capcom. They probably were almost identical to some extent with the mechanics of the game, especially with the Street Fighter side. Like I said before, in order to do a sweep with Ryu, I don't know, also with Ken, you have to do the diagonal down forward, which sometimes you won't do because when you're playing a fighting game, every time you duck, you usually have to do a block, a low guard block, and you gotta see why there. So sort of kind of concerning a bit, but again, it works for what it is. 4 buttons, again, they're trying to emulate the King of Fighters style. Grooves is something in this game has. So while SNK vs Capcom have like a sort of exclusive just based on the game, I guess I call it the Chaos Groove because of the Exceed mode and stuff. In the Capcom side, is you got 2 grooves, an SNK groove, Capcom groove. Capcom 1 is based on Street Fighter Alpha 3, so it depends which button you do. You can either a weak, medium, or strong super move. While the SNK is based on King Fighter 94 to 96 with the EX system, which is in order to fill it up, you just have to charge it. And of course, when your bar started to flash, that means you have unlimited super move. And combine that with an EX, you can do like a high level super move there. So it kind of emulates for what it is. A little bit of broken, but again, it is what it is there. And then ratios. That's one of the problems with this game also, because they were trying to do some new gimmick here. So of course they're trying to emulate King of Fighter. That's why it's like the King base, but you can actually have between 1 to 4 teams. I did talk about it before on my rewind there, so let me reiterate this. So you have to have a total ratio of 4. So you can have 4 1 ratio character or a 2 team character with a ratio of 3 and 1. And of course, if you're the super secret over boss character, hidden boss character, you'll be a ratio of 4. So it's supposed to balance the game, but it really didn't. It didn't really make sense. It's like, what? I don't get it, man. I don't get it. So it makes the game really unbalanced to a point you can even have like if people decide to play in both sides a 4-team match. So what? Like what? 7 out of 9 or something? I don't even know. It's like 4 characters. Oh man, that's gonna last long. That's gonna that's gonna really last long. It's gonna get boring. So that was really sort of the problem with that game, is the ratio. And like I said, from what I heard, the reason why they did that is sort of a balance issue, and also to encourage you to play different characters. But it doesn't work. And that game didn't work because it was very exclusive. I know the home console version, you can actually adjust the ratio there. So I'm gonna mention that later. Bosses, like I said, Geese and Bison, and Street Fighter Fatal Fury. Downside with this game to some extent, the arcade version is no ending whatsoever. So it depends. If it's Bison, of course, it's about Shadowloo. If it's Geese, then it's about falling off the tower, you know, like Fatal Fury. But that's it. I mean, that's it. I mean, each character have no secret ending or any whatsoever personal ending. So it is kind of bummer, but of course, it is just a cut and paste. It has been Capcom's aim for a while. Marvel vs. Capcom did the same thing also. There was only one generic ending. Of course, they did rectify that with Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Infinite, they have a story mode, but different story there. So that is the arcade version. So any improvement in the console version? Yes, there's a lot of unlockable. One is the X characters and gallery mode and more cosmetic options for your character. In order to do that, sadly, you gotta beat the game with certain characters. So I kind of encourage you to play multiple characters to finish the game. And then when you unlock it, you need to accumulate points. So that is the downside also. So there is some sort of fight money system there. And you don't get a lot, it depends. Because the problem also in the game difficulty, it was default by 2 bars. But unless you're super good, you're not going to go that far, especially with the bosses. I couldn't, so I had to put it on 1 bar. I know I need to get good. But again, it is what it is there, and unfortunately, the lower the difficulty, the lower you get the points or money, whatever you call the game there. And that's the reason why, to some extent, there's a connectivity with the Neo Geo Pocket, because believe it or not, in the Neo Geo Pocket, when you play the game, you do get coins there too, and you don't use in that game, but when you transfer it to the console version, the Dreamcast, there you go. So that is what Capcom versus SNK. Would I highly recommend playing this game? Yes. More than SNK versus Capcom Chaos. Yeah, the sequel is more highly, but like I said, I'll mention that later why. But for this one is, yes, so highly recommend it if you're able to have a chance to see how it all started. And again, you know, the graphics, the mechanic, just more refined. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say there. So when it comes to Pro, what they did is from what I heard, they rebalanced them a bit, and they added 2 new characters, which is Joe and Dan. And the best part is most of them are ratio 1. So there you go. And all the stuff that you need to unlock in the original version is unlocked from the get-go. Same goes with the PlayStation 1 version. Because again, it is just the PlayStation 1 is based on the Dreamcast version. Like I said, this one never came out due to the fact that by the time 2021, the Dreamcast was done. Like, they didn't even give it a 5-year. Nobody wanted to support it because, well, people were just shifting to the PlayStation 2. So why would you keep supporting a console if it's not gonna work? Just saying that. So yeah, that's what Pro really is. Like, there's really nothing much to unlock in that game because everything that you have to unlock in the original version, the vanilla, it's already unlocked from the get-go. Ratio adjuster, from what I heard also, but I didn't really try it. But like I said, this game never came out. So, however, since the experience I have with the actual Dreamcast version, it's not legit. Unless, like I said before, if Capcom SNK finally made some sort of agreement again to re-release this game, make an improvement or whatever, or just heck, release it just for the heck of it, maybe I'll give a score this time. But for what this is, would I highly recommend it? Yes, mostly highly recommend it than the other version. Because it's just much fun, much quality. What can I say? Yeah, the ratio is only probably the problem there. But like I said, there's also called pair mode, which is play 2 characters. It doesn't matter which one it is. And like I said, they even have called the ratio adjuster, which was actually been fixed on the sequel. So the gist of the impression of the sequel one, Capcom vs. SNK 2, Mark of the Millennium 2001, is a much improved version than the original one. More characters now. Yeah, that's also one of the downside with Capcom vs. SNK is the lack of variety. It's just technically Street Fighter versus King of Fighter. Yes, Morrigan's in the game, but you have to unlock in the original version. She's unlocked already from the get-go for Pro. Same goes with Nakamura. You also have to unlock Evil Ryu, Orochi, Iori, and Akuma. And again, in the vanilla version, the ratio 4. But they don't really look like a ratio 4 character to me. Again, it's ridiculous. And again, unlocking them, nobody likes that. I mean, most competitive players, they want the character from the get-go. That's why the art of unlocking is like, it's been faded away. Sadly, Sakurai trying to bring it back, but a lot of people keep complaining. Again, different story there. But like I said, in Pro, everything's unlocked from the get-go, so you have to, nothing to worry about it. Nothing to worry about it there. Yeah, so like I said, I highly recommend it. And again, for the sequel, much more highly recommended. And I'll more go in depth on that one maybe in the future. But yeah, they improved the game, more characters, graphics, much even improved. The stages are 3D. Music-wise, generic, same thing with Capcom SNK, unfortunately. And they improved also the system. They added more groups. Now there's not only Street Fighter and Street Fighter 94, there's also Street Fighter Super Turbo, but also the advanced system, which is from 97 to 98. Let's just go with that one. And then there's even Street Fighter 3 Groove, which is the parry, while SNK has the Samurai Showdown POW meter system, which is Samurai Showdown. If you know what that game goes, the more you get beat up, the more you get stronger. That's how it works. Yeah, I never really get that. I never really did. I'm so confused. So again, I might do an impression of Capcom versus SNK with a score because I have the PS2 version. Also, I can play on the PS3 via PSN because they had it for like $2. Double dip, I know. I might do an impression down in the long run, but the whole point of these two parts is I want to give my impression of the two games that was required by both sides, and also give more the backstory of the controversy with Capcom vs. SNK. So, I hope you enjoyed it. Don't worry, both video will have timestamp because I tend to ramble. So with that, I'll see you guys later.